Can you hear me?
Perfect. Now I can. Yes. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you getting ready for Hawaii? Are you packing all your bathing suits and
Yeah.
suntan lotion?
Not quite there yet. Definitely packing up, but so far it's just plastics and training equipment.
Are you going to be able to enjoy Hawaii at all?
After the fight. Yeah, after the fight, my wife's going to come out. We're going to spend a few days, spend some time on the beach, eat lots of food, and then I'll head back to the East Coast and then drive cross country to get home.
Oh, wow. Drive cross country?
Yep.
Are you doing that like as a vacation or is that just for like, what's the reason for driving cross country?
So my head coach, he took a job. His wife took a job in Virginia Beach. They moved out there, but I live in California. So I come out to Virginia for my fight camps. I drive out because I have all my training equipment, and then I have to drive home.
Wow. How long does that take?
Usually about 4 days.
Oh my goodness. Do you stop at gyms along the way?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my
That's
son.
cool. So I guess can you just talk to me a little bit about your opponent? I know you're familiar with her, you fought her already. Was there a little bit of disappointment that you're having another rematch, that you didn't have a fresh opponent?
Yeah, I definitely say there's a lot more than a little. There's a lot of disappointment. Because in my mind, the person that had warranted a potential rematch was Watanabe. Right now, she's the one that has been on a winning streak, has done really well, and is number two. So in my mind, number one and number two outside the person with the belt are the people that are eligible, or even number three to fight for the belt. But to me, Bennett isn't. She's number eight, and I understand she's been on a win record. But Watanabe seemed to me to be the better fit, especially because I feel like in our last facing, I was able to get a quick finish, but I just threw her off her guard. And if we had more time, I think that it'd be a much different and a much more exciting fight for fans. So to me, it just made a lot more sense.
Why do you think it didn't happen that way?
I'm not sure. I know that Alima had requested to fight Watanabe. And again, to me, doesn't really make sense, but I'm sure that they Bellator has like a whole idea in mind of what they're trying to achieve. And to me, is what it would seem is Alima beats Watanabe, and then Alima and I fight for probably what would be her retirement fight, is my guess.
Thinking about, another rematch, do you feel like the fight's going to be any different? Do you feel like you both have changed since then, or, better or worse, or do you feel like it's going to be the same?
Oh, I do think it's going to be different. I think in our first matchup, it was, a lot of mental growth that had to be done on my part. And I was still evolving and still growing and changing. And one thing that I keep doing with each fight is just getting better and better and being stronger and stronger. And so I think, if anything, it's going to be a much more one-sided fight and working for me rather than for her.
Back to Hawaii. I know you have some good memories in Hawaii. Do you have, are there any like superstitions that you have, good or bad, about, where you fight, or even just things like you said, driving, like you're always going to want to stop at the specific diner on the way back. Do you have any kind of like little traditions or superstitions about fighting?
I try not to, just because my associate's is in psychology, and so I understand how it's so natural as humans to want to do that. And I try not to because I know that it. Like I had a teammate who's like, "Oh no, I broke my cup, my favorite cup, and now I'm going to lose this fight." And it's like, well, you've lost fights with that favorite cup. Like that's not a representation of anything. But then he performed horribly because in his head, everything relied on that cup. So I try not to have any superstitions so I don't fall into that. But it's definitely something that's very difficult. And I find myself start to, I'm like, nope, stop it right there. No superstitions. We can't do this.
Do you feel like, just with that psychology background, do you feel like there's a mental side to the fight game that a lot of fans underestimate? Because whenever I make picks, I always rely on like the mental, like, ooh, they're in a new camp, or they fought this person before. I always put so much weight on that mental aspect. Do you feel like fans underestimate it, or do you feel like fighters overestimate it?
Both. I think that there are some fighters that overestimate that, and they'll think that mentally they've already won a fight, that they don't have to put the work into it. And then I also think that fans also don't realize how much somebody can get to somebody's head and plant a seed. One of the things that Conor McGregor did so well is he's not necessarily athletically more skilled than any other fighter, but he was so good at planting a seed and making sure that he got in that person's head. And then his warm-ups, he'd show this is what I'm going to do to you and let them know. So in their head, they're like, this is what he's going to do. I'm not going to let this happen. And that's what it's like when somebody's like, whatever you do, don't think about a pink elephant. And all you think about is a pink elephant. Once you draw your thought to it, that's all you can think about. And I think that's what he was good at. And some fighters can be as well. And I do think that fans underestimate how much you can have a very skilled athlete, but if they have doubts, that is the dent in their shield and in their armor that's protecting them.
And I guess a little bit on the mental aspect. I know you're on the fight card that's first, right? You're on the Friday one. I think that's what it is, Friday. If it had been reversed, would you have been able to go and watch those fights on Friday, or would you have had to kind of like check yourself out?
Yeah, I'm definitely not one of those people that can watch fights. I have done it before, but I find that I get too amped. And then the other thing is Alima and I are friends. So when I watch hers, I am so emotionally invested into it. I'm sweating, my adrenaline's going, my heart rate's through the roof. So if I had to watch her fight first and then have to go, there's no way I could not do it. I respect her because she comes to my fights when I fight on Friday and she fights on Saturday. And I may show up and I'm like, I'm going to watch her fight on TV, but I cannot emotionally do it in person.
That's funny. And I guess, you mentioned what you think Bellator's kind of plan is for you, but what's your plan? What would you like to see happen after this fight?
Well, I don't want to see Alima lose. Like I definitely don't. But at the same time, I would love to fight Watanabe. My dream would be to fight Watanabe in Japan. I think that there is a fan base there that we're not marketing to that we can definitely take advantage of. And how cool would it be for her, who's from Japan, myself that grew up in Okinawa, for both us to bring those Asian roots together, me from a completely different perspective, right? From somebody who's raised there, but not Okinawan, not Japanese, has a different heart and a different feel for it. And then her as her home base would be very cool. And I would love a chance to just go home. So my dream would be to fight in Japan. And I would love to do it as a 135er and open up that division.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.